Welcome to part 2 of the Codeless Calendar Bookings app build. In part 1 we created this calendar view which when a user comes in is able to click on a date which they would like to book an appointment, and we see a selection of times come up. As we see here, the selection of times is every 1 hour slot available in the day. The next step would be to build the availabilities function that the business owner would use to set their business hours, because we obviously don't want anyone booking a slot at 1 a.m. And so forth. So here in the availabilities, they would be able to set their start and end times. So for that, we're going to start in the bookings calendar screen, and we see it's a blank screen at the moment. Just to lay down some framework, we're going to use the calendar tool, and this is a plugin, the full calendar, which is a plugin built by Bubble. So just go to add plugins, search full calendar, look for this icon and install it. You'll see it pop up in your visual elements. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the calendar and lay down a nice big calendar somewhere in the middle of my screen. This is so the business owner can see where events are booked or appointments are booked. I'm going to leave this blank for now and move on to the setting, the actual business hours. So first of all, I'd need a button which I can place somewhere here. Just going to center that horizontally in my screen, and I'm going to call this set availability. The idea is when this button is clicked, we're going to get a pop-up which will allow the business owner to set their start and end times for their business per day. So I'm going to lay down a pop-up. If you go to containers pop-up over my screen here, and I'm just going to name this pop-up availabilities. I'm going to add a drop down to the top of this pop-up. And here the business owner would be given a choice of days of the week. So I'll put in a placeholder of select day, and the choices for this drop down would be static choices, and my choices would be the days of the week. Okay, that should be good. Then we're going to give the business owner an option to set their start and end times. So I'll lay down an input box here for start time, and my placeholder here would be start time, and I'd want a similar box next to it called end time. Once I have those in place, I'm going to want a button to confirm the start and end times. And I'll call this button confirm. And you see in the header here, button confirm is automatically updated. So once the business owner goes in, selects a day of the week from the drop down, inputs their business start of day and closing time, they're going to hit confirm, and they should see a list of these open and close times down here below. To do that, we can use a repeating group. I'll just place a repeating group down here. The type of content for this repeating group is something we haven't created as yet, so I'll just format this repeating group for now. Okay, that looks good to me. So the idea is to save these start and end times to the database, but we don't in our database currently have any data type for them to do that. So I'm going to create a new type called availability. And we would need a few fields here, so you can go to create new field. The first field I'm going to create is available day, and this would be a text. Then start time. I'm going to do the start and end times as text. This is just a simple way, a less complex way to do it. You could do it as a date, but for them, which would be a more complete way, but for demonstration purposes, this should fit our needs. So we've got available day, an end time, and a start time. And we can go back to our repeating group, and our type of content would be availability, and the data source would be do a search for availabilities. Great. Now when we hit this confirm button, after we've input a start time and an end time, we want this available day, the start time and end time to be saved to our database, which our repeating group will then retrieve and display. So to do that, we use a workflow. We can start edit workflow from the button confirm menu. So when button confirm is clicked, we want to create a new thing. The type of thing would be availability, and the value of available day field would be drop down select days value. The start time would be our input for the start time, which would be input start times value, and end time would be input end times value. Great. Now we need some data or data to be retrieved into this repeating group, and for that we can use text boxes. So I'm going to add a text box about there, and this would be a dynamic expression depending on what availability was set first. Current cells availability, available day. Then we'd need another box, and this would be current cells availabilities, start time, and a final text box. And similarly, this would be current cells availability, end time. The last thing we'd need for this repeating group is a way for the user to delete out an availability in case their available times change. And for that I'm going to use an icon. So select icon from visual elements and drop an icon down here. You can choose the icon. I'm going to go with a trash can. You could go with an X or some sort of button that represents delete. I like the trash can for this purpose. And I'm just going to change the style on this to make it a nice danger red. Usually red means delete. And a border style that's solid with a roundness of 20. And the border would be red as well. Great. Then to make this icon functional, we would need to create a workflow. So we can go double click on your icon, start edit workflow. So when icon trash is clicked, data things, delete thing. To delete would be current cells availability. Nice and straightforward. Next, what we're missing on this main screen is to make the set availability button functional. So if we just double click that, start edit workflow. When button set availability is clicked, we want the element to perform an action, and that's to show our pop-up availability. So let's have a look at how that would work. If we go to our preview, we can click set availability, and there's our nice pop-up. I need to get rid of that scroll bar, but let's have a look at if this works. So I want to set my available times for Monday, maybe 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So because this is in a text format, um, we're entering the times in 24-hour time, meaning 17th hour of the day. And if we confirm, we see Monday pops up with the start time, end time, and a delete button. Let's go for Tuesday. Maybe I want to do the same hours for a Tuesday, a Wednesday. Maybe I've got stuff to do on a Wednesday morning. I want to start at 10. Thursdays, I want to finish a bit earlier, maybe at 4. And on a Friday, I want to have a nice short day. I'm just going to work from 11 to 2. And I'm not going to work Saturdays and Sundays, so I don't need to add that in. Let's see if our delete button works. Remove Fridays. Cool. And I'll just add that back. Let's have a look at what that looks like in the database. So if you go to data, availabilities, and then app data, you get a nice grid. And we can see we have a list of our days of the week that we set, our end times, start times, our created date, when this was created, when it was last modified. You can edit these records manually. That's obviously something a user wouldn't do, but when you're building and you want to create data or you want to quickly change data, you can go in and hit this pencil and all these fields are editable. The next step would be to apply or filter these available times for booking according to our available times that was set. So the way we can do that is to use a filter on the repeating group. So if you select your repeating group, we've got our data source calendar tool A's list of times. Then we would like to filter. So now we have a filter on there and we can add constraints to the filter. So our first constraint would be this date, and we're going to extract the hour from this date. So we select hour, use current time zone, and we can go back to our filter. Should be greater than or equal to, then do a search for availability, and our constraint on here would be available day is equal to this date formatted as a single day. So that represents just DDDD represents the name of the day of the week. And we can go back to our filter. Then we want to look for the first item's start time and convert that to a number. That may be a little bit difficult to understand at first, but if you just try and read through it a few times and try and understand exactly what that expression is trying to say, basically it's saying this this date, extract the hour, which is the time displayed here, should be greater than or equal to the first item of this availability start time. So that would mean no times before the availability start time will be displayed. The next constraint we need is similar, but it would remove all the times after the end time. So this date extract hour, this date extract hour is less than or equal to, which is now the opposite constraint of the first one. Do a search for availabilities and available day equals this day, this date formatted as DDDD. And to finish off our expression, we're going to look for the end time. So first item's end time converted to number. Also, we want to only display, we wouldn't want to display available times in the past. So this date is greater than or equal to actually just greater than the current date and time. Okay, now that I've got those mind-twisting expressions down, let's have a preview of what that should look like. So now hopefully when we click on a day of the week, we should only see available times which we've specified between our start time and end time. Let's see how that would work. So our first test would be click on a day in the past and we see nothing. That's good. Click on a day in the future but a weekend. And we actually see a time here. So that's something we would have to address. That would be a bug. We click on a Monday, we see our time start at 9 and end at 5. If we click on a Friday, our time start at 11 and end at 2. We click on a Wednesday, starts at 10, ends at 5. So that's working pretty well, except for that one little bug which needs to be addressed. The next step would be to complete the saving of this booking. So we can put an input box over here, and the placeholder would be name, and or we can just go for full name, and a button about here. And this button would be called confirm booking. Okay, now the customer would be able to come in, click on a day of the week, select an available time, input their name, and then click this button to confirm the booking, and this data should be written to the database. So let's create a database for this, and we can call this bookings, and the fields we would need here would be day of the week, which would be a text, a start time, which would be a date, and end time, which would also be a date, a client, which would be a text, so this is what my bookings data table looks like now. I've got a client, a day, end time, and a start time. Next step would be to apply these to this calendar, and the type of event I want is bookings. The data source would be bookings as well, so we can do a search for bookings. The start time would be start time, the end time would be end time, so that should be sufficient to display data. If we go back to customer bookings, I've added some workflows on the confirm button already. We can start edit workflow. So what it does is it creates a new booking, it sets client in the bookings database to the input full names value. It sets the day, customer bookings date month. That's our custom state we set earlier in part 1. Start time equals customer bookings time, and our end time would be customer bookings time plus 1 hour, since our duration set in part 1 was 60 minutes. Next, what we need to do is make this cell clickable so we can actually select a time. So when text current cell's date is clicked, we want to save this as our custom state. So when that time is clicked, it will change the value of our custom state. Every time a time is clicked, we don't want that saved to the database, because you could click multiple times in a few seconds. So we don't want an entry to our database for each of those, only when an exact time is chosen and confirmed. So the elements we want to change is custom bookings and time. And the value would be our current cell's date. Okay, just a few more finishing touches on here. I still don't have a way to scroll past or select different months. Let's preview what we have so far. Just to get a base of what's been done and what else needs to be done. So we can come in, select a day. I want to make an appointment for Thursday the 18th at 2 p.m. seems good. And my full name is Codeless is cool. And I'm going to confirm booking. The first thing you notice is once you click confirm booking, you're still stuck on the same screen. The next thing is you can't book in any other month than March, so we need to add some way to select months in the future. This name should clear once you click confirm booking. You should get a notification that your booking is confirmed. But let's see if the main bits worked. So let's preview our calendar now. So this would be from the business owner's perspective. And we see an entry at 2 p.m. for Thursday the 18th, and Codeless is cool. So that is working perfectly. I'm just going to go in, and what I think would be important to show is how to create the month selector. The rest of the stuff, like clearing the fields, navigating away, creating a confirm once confirm is clicked, should be trivial at this point. So I think I'll just show this most important part here. So I'm going to create an icon on either side of calendar bookings, and I want this to be an arrow of some sort. First I need a right pointing arrow. these look cool. Actually, let's go with this one. Cool, that looks good. And then I need a left pointing arrow to go back. So we're going to use a workflow on these arrows. To change our states, our custom states. So when the right arrow is clicked, we want to change an element action and set the state. Our elements would be customer bookings. The custom state we want would be date month, and the value would be customer bookings date month plus months 1. Then similarly for the back arrow, we'll start editor workflow, element action set state, customer bookings, custom state date month again, and value customer bookings date month plus months minus 1. Great. Let's preview one last time. Let's check out these arrows. March, April, May, June. And these look good. I can go back in time, but I can't book anything there. Great. So now we have a basic bookings app where we can select a day, a time, enter our name, confirm a booking, and the business owner would see on their calendar those bookings show up. And importantly, the business owner would be able to set availability according to their working hours. So let's review what we've learned in this demo. We've used a repeating group. We've used some cool plugins around the calendars. We've differentiated between a date, what can be saved in a database and when that's appropriate. Basically, permanent information is saved in a database versus in a custom state where temporary information is saved and quickly retrieved. We've seen how design and database are connected and how those are linked through workflows. I hope you've enjoyed this demo. If you want to see more like it, check out codeless.co, codeless with a K. We have some great courses that you can get into over there. Um, if this interested you and you want to see more, actually, I forgot about the 12 p.m. bug that we saw. I've got an idea. So let's say if you can solve that bug, put a comment down on the YouTube comment section, and I'll give you a free advanced course in Bubble that's worth $600. So if you solve it, put down the solution in the comment, and you get a free advanced course. Thanks, guys. Hope to hear from you. Bye.